Hello everyone. How are you doing? This is immigration attorney Momita. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am coming to you live from my office in New York City. And for those of you who have not seen me before, my name is Momita. I am an immigration attorney in New York and I serve clients all across the US. And my goal this week has been to bring you as much immigration news and information that I can because I know that things are rapidly changing and many people call me or they contact me with some of the same questions. So I'm trying to give you these videos so that you can have the most up-to-date immigration news and also information as much as possible. So I do have a couple of quick updates for you today. And again, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's been a long day for me. I hope everyone's had a great day at, wherever you are right now too. So for part of the majority of immigration-based applications, the requirement to give your fingerprints is there in order for the government to check your background, issue a work permit, and maybe even process other types of applications such as citizenship applications and other things. And since the COVID-19 pandemic has started, USCIS did halt all in-person appointments from March onwards until recently, and this included fingerprint appointments. So this has been a problem for many people because in the majority of cases, persons are filing for applications for the first time, so the government does not have their fingerprints on file. There are other applications for which the government did decide that they were able to reuse old fingerprints, such as for persons who were filing their I-751 application to remove conditions on residence, citizenship, and some other types of applications. The government did say that since we do have your old fingerprints and biometrics on file, we will go ahead and reuse them. But for other persons applying for their work permit or other items for the very first time, they were unable to give their fingerprints. But I do have some good news if you're based in New York City. Now, again, I am based in New York, so most of my information comes from New York. We have been informed that there are some locations in New York called ASCs, which are the application support centers. They will start reissuing and rescheduling biometrics appointment notices. And I myself have had several clients who did have their fingerprints rescheduled, and they started taking them from this week onwards. So if you are in New York and you have been waiting to get your fingerprints done, be advised that you will probably start getting your receipts for your notices to get these done soon. If you're outside of New York, just keep your eye open for the mail, because as certain parts of the country reopen, they might go ahead and start scheduling the biometrics appointments. However, we have seen such a varying response to the COVID-19 crisis throughout all of the U.S. And obviously some parts of the U.S., like where we are in New York, are doing much better than other parts of the country where the response was not all that great. So what I'm expecting to see is that even if certain other parts of the country did start reopening their USCIS offices for interviews and appointments and biometrics, they will probably start to maybe phase out of that to preserve health and safety. Okay, but here in New York, we're doing pretty well, and I expect that the majority of my clients will end up having their fingerprints done this month, if not a little bit later. Okay, so that's my update number one, and my second update has to do with court. So if anyone here is in removal proceedings, I know it's very, very stressful, or if your loved one or family member is in removal, it is quite a hard thing to deal with. It is such an uncertain thing as it is, and this COVID-19 situation has really just thrown everything into just a whirlwind, and it's created, it's put in so many more measures of uncertainty and stress. And if you had a hearing scheduled from March onwards, probably your hearing has been postponed and you're wondering, when am I going to have my hearing? And the answer to this is we don't know. Even though New York City is doing much better, the courts really haven't quite figured out how to reopen yet. And this is probably for the best for our health and safety, because if you have ever been inside the courts, you know how packed it is and how overscheduled they are. But every single week, the EOIR, which is the Executive Office for Immigration Review, they release a start date or a reopen date for the majority of courts. And what we've noticed is that they basically let us know the week before that they're going to keep postponing it. So as of right now, what I can tell you is that the courts, the majority of the immigration courts are scheduled to reopen on July 31st. But my expectation is that they will, next week, we will find out that the reopening has been delayed again by another week. So if you have a hearing scheduled, the first week of August, it's likely that it's going to get postponed. Okay. Now, this does not apply to every single court. There are a handful of courts that are open right now, such as Newark, New Jersey, and other places in the country. But as of right now, New York courts are not open until July 31st. And I fully expect that the reopening on July 31st will again get pushed through sometime in August. So that's my biggest update. And if you are wondering, how does that affect your case? When will you have your hearing heard? Well, from my understanding, when the courts are ready to reschedule hearing dates, number one, they will focus and prioritize rescheduling the hearings for individual hearings, which are the final trial hearings for cases first. And the individual hearings that were postponed during this pandemic will get the first slots. And then they will focus on having individual hearings for cases that are already scheduled, which means that the majority of master calendar hearings will likely get postponed until later in the year. It is what it is. We just have to wait to see what happens. And that is it. And I really thank everyone who's watching today. Tiffany, hi, how are you? I have a question here from Mahadi Hassan. How does is USCIS scheduling interviews now for green cards? So as of right now, what I can say, Mahadi, is that USCIS, as far as I know, they're only scheduling interviews for naturalization applications. That is what they are prioritizing. And I'm assuming that once they get through the backlog of that, then they will start to schedule persons for green card interviews. And in many cases, they may decide to waive interviews where they feel it's not necessary. I don't know what's really going to happen. You just have to kind of wait. Everyone just has to wait and, try not to stress out, try not to get too anxious. So I hope that helps. If you have another question or comment, drop me a line over here. I will do my best to answer it later. And, share this video. Please tell your friends about me and these videos that I'm doing. I'm going to try to do a video as much as I can. So take care. I hope everyone has a great day. And if you do need a consultation on your case, the best way to get on my calendar is to call our office at 212-248-7907. Speak to one of my assistants to get on my calendar. My space is very limited. So if you need an appointment right away, make sure you book the first available one. All right, everyone, have a great day.